I would like to introduce our next speaker for the introduction to our thematic focus, Katja Schechtner. I think Katja is a person I don't have to introduce to you at all. She's a truly global expert in cities and transportation. She's with the MIT Media Lab, she's with the Asian Development Bank, she's with a couple of universities in Austria already. So, Katja, please. Join us.
Thank you and good morning. Could I have my presentation, please? Would you mind? So first of all, thank you for welcoming me to Toronto. 2 years ago, we hosted the ARIT at the Media Lab, and I hope you enjoyed it there. But just as we recently, 2 weeks ago, lost one of my best colleagues to Toronto, the University of Toronto, as a new professor in urban planning and data technologies, I think it's very fitting for me to be here and back in Toronto for a moment. So now I was asked to talk about why it matters that technology and the humanities, that science and the arts work together. Now, many of us, we know, we've heard, we're living in a data-rich world. There is data about where we are, where we go, whom we are listening to, and probably whether you like it. So there is an abundance of data out there that encompasses most of our environment and about our human habits. We are lucky too, furthermore, because it's not only a data-rich world, it's a people-rich world. Maybe you haven't seen that today when we stepped out on the streets of Toronto. It's a little bit cold, a little bit rainy. But believe me, every time I step out of my house in Manila, or my job in Hong Kong, or in any other country that's not perfectly first world, the city is teeming with people. And there's more and more up to come, and more of them are moving into cities. More than 2 billion new city and urban dwellers over the next 20 years. This is the problems that I work with. Now, as we have this big data and all these people, it should be easy, no? We just ask a question and then someone calculates the response for us. It's easy, isn't it? So why are we still waiting for it? Why is it that so many of our human problems have not been solved? Why is it so difficult to advance in technology, in culture, in science, and actually making the world a better place? Now, I think there is 3 big data myths connected to data collection, data analysis, and data visualization that so long have been just looked at from a technology and engineering perspective. And I'm guilty of that too. That this is why we need to work better and more together with the artists, with the scholars from the humanist sciences, outside data, just the technical data scientists. So first of all, data collection. Now, we think we live in a data-rich world. What we actually see is that data is scarce, it's fragmented, it's not shared with us, neither with the people in research, nor with the people who actually want to rely on it. Probably I'm not the only person in the room who got a cease and desist order by Google when I just looked at their Street View data. More of it, okay, I accept, but nevertheless. And we have an overuse of the same data sets over and over again, thinking that we can apply them globally. If we understand one thing, we can make a law and it works everywhere. That's not true, especially as we don't have the data for many of our researches and actually many of our applications where it matters most, which is probably outside Canada, the US, and Europe. But even there, it matters, and have some examples to that further. Secondly, and now you have to follow me a little bit more into what's my daily work. Our data analysis tools are mostly crooked because they are developed out of context. Now, one of the most important things if you plan a city, you need to know where people live, where they work, and the other stuff they do. So you need to know origins and destinations, the flows of people in a city. We developed great methods for this, based on mobile phone data. Mobile phone data is abundant, it's easy available, and we wrote a paper that actually by only using 3.7% of all the mobile phone data in a city, we can tell you quite clearly where people live, where they go to work, and where the next public transportation system should be. Now follow me with this to Asia, where 90 to 95% of the contracts are prepaid, which means those data companies, they do not keep the data. They don't need it for billing information. So the only data they keep is of the few rich people who have bank accounts and postpaid data. That's still millions of data. But if we analyze it, and we did it in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, to find out where we should put our investment money to do new public transport systems, all that lighted up was the areas of the rich and where the rich went. If you do that, if you think your methods are not context sensitive, not cultural sensitive, because they work globally, you found a law, you're wrong. And the same goes, usually we say, okay, you know, if that doesn't work, we do one more data layer over the other, we combine them, then we got it. That's still not true for many reasons. One of them, there is different cultural and social practices around using mobile phones. As any of my houseboys in Manila can quickly show you, who keeps his phone about with him for 3 or 4 days before he barters it out for some, inviting his friends for something. So if you rely on that data, or if you use the data methods that we developed in Boston and San Francisco, it doesn't work where it matters. Thirdly, we researchers, we think if we solve a problem and it then actually works and we get it better, the politicians in society will take it, make it, improve it, and run with it. After all, there is evidence-based policy making. Politicians and journalists should love it. We even have the tools, the data visualization tools, that make our results as researchers easily understandable for ourselves and for the others. However, what really happens if we use the data, if we use the analysis tools to look into problems that tickle us? Does anybody know what this is, this rectangle here? Okay, so each and every of the little rectangles you see is one page of a book. And each of the colored parts of one of those pages is where what was written was copied from another book. Now, this is a famous book. This is the dissertation of Theodor zu Guttenberg. What you see is plagiarism on his PhD thesis. And this was finally the data visualization, the accountability technology that made him step down. This changed the course of politics in Germany for long term, because he was the one who was going to inherit Angela Merkel's space. So we use technologies, we think that everybody should love that we get it, but what actually happens, and I've seen that many times, is the governments, the public authorities that we work for don't want to see it and don't want to have it published. Oops. There should be a few more slides. Can you check up there? We looked at it. Oh, perfect. There it is. So what I say is it's incredibly important to bring together people from different backgrounds that understand what the data can deliver, what questions we need to ask, but how it works in the human context. And even more important for us as researchers, as government officials, as planners, and as real people, is that we are willing to look at what we see. And for this, I would like to invite you to come with me to one of my favorite countries in the world. Has anyone here been to Vietnam? Cool. So if you've been to Vietnam, you know that it's teeming with people. So come with me. This is a crossing in Ho Chi Minh City. There is a policeman standing there at the crossing, trying to make the traffic flow, trying to stem it in another direction. It's difficult because he doesn't know what the policeman 2 crossings over is doing. Even worse, not in the city. So you have inefficiencies, it's difficult, the job is difficult, the traffic doesn't flow, you lose economic benefits, you have more environmental pollution. So what happens? In come world-renowned engineers and technologists in a field that uses big data for a long time, transportation, easy. They bring in with them, hand in hand, the money, $60 million from a development bank. And they go in and they tell the Vietnamese government one thing. Guys, that's an easy problem. What we're gonna do is, we collect the data of the traffic. We put in sensors. We wire it up through an information technology network. We bring it all together. We analyze it. We calculate the traffic flow. And we give the feedback to the traffic lamps. So that's with one quick technology solution, we will have the traffic in Ho Chi Minh City flow. It will be easier for everybody. We will help you solve a problem. It's time-tested engineering. In they go. They put the sensors in the ground. They dig up the streets. It's freaking hell in Ho Chi Minh City in that summer. They put it in. They wire it up. They connect it to a great big data analysis tool. They flip the switch, and this is what happens. Complete and utter chaos. Why is this? Well, these clever engineers put in sensors, time-tested sensors, magnetic field sensors, that need the cars, that 1,000-kilogram metal of the cars to make the counting right. I'm not sure if you've ever been to Vietnam, but Vietnam runs on scooters. So the sensors work, the simulation work, everything works, but those freaking engineers who went there, and all their project managers who went there from a first world country, that shall not be named, I think they speak German there, put in this, and it's a system that doesn't work. And what we now have is on each of this crossing, a policeman standing, pushing buttons for the new traffic lights they put in. This is what I call culture, it's technology for breakfast. And this is why I think in each of our projects as data scientists, as developers, we need to partner with a diverse set of experts and researchers from the humanities, and also I advocate very, very strictly for having not only, and forgive me for looking into this audience, white people in a research group. Thank you very much.